with the Sunshine Center, and I'm here with Kelly Carson of At Home Fitness, who's going to give us some details about the virtual 5K Fit City Run. Kelly, take it away.
Hi, all right, let's talk about this 5K we have coming up in October. To me, 5K sounds like a lot, so I like to think of it as 3.1 miles, but even that sounds like a lot. And I think both those numbers can be overwhelming at a time like this. We've all been cooped up and stuck in the house more often due to COVID. So unfortunately, we're probably moving less instead of more. So how do we get ready for a walk in October if we haven't been doing much? Well, I'm here to tell you today how we're going to get that accomplished. The good news is, though, the race is from October 4th till October 10th. So that gives you a week to complete it. So you can go at your own pace, your own style, and whatever level you're able to do. And I think the important thing is not so much maybe that you finish, but that we just get going and get moving and get started. We talked about some things we can do to get you ready for the run. We specialize in working with older adults. Our clients are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I'm going to give you guys some ideas on how to get ready for this, whether you were in a wheelchair, or whether you're slightly mobile, or whether you're fairly mobile. So let's get into different ideas that will help you get ready for this. Okay, some ideas that can help you out. Let's say you're wheelchair bound. And you're in the house obviously most of the time. Well, you have to propel yourself through the house. So why not count those feet that you propel yourself towards your goal of the walk? So if you're propelling to the kitchen or to the bathroom and that's 20 feet, that's 20 feet towards your goal. If you are able to use your legs a little bit in the wheelchair, what you can do is while you're sitting in the wheelchair is do some marching. So when you do some marching, if you do 20 marches, that's 20 feet counted towards your goal. So you can kind of do that off and on throughout the whole day. If you are able to propel yourself, maybe outside to the mailbox or something like that, count that distance as part of your goal. Now, if you are able to walk a little bit in the house, not very active outdoors, let's think about this. A lot of us are watching TV and movies more often. So while you're sitting there, when a commercial comes on or every 30 to 60 minutes, is get up and take a lap through the house and just walk through the house and count those steps. Maybe it's 50 steps, maybe it's 60 steps. But if you do that off and on throughout the day, it will all add up. I don't want the whole amount to sound daunting, so let's space it out and do a little bit each day, a little bit at a time at your own pace. So you can take a lap through the house. I tell people when they go to the little girl's room or little boy's room, is take the long way back to the chair. If by the end of the day you're getting too tired to keep taking those walks, then I would suggest that maybe you stand up and just do some marching while you're standing up. It's just static walking. So if you're marching and you're marching 20 or 30 times, that's 20 or 30 feet that you can count towards your goal. Now, if you're a little bit more active and get out of the house a fair amount, but not a lot, what you can do is start practicing taking walks maybe down to the end of the driveway and back into the house. And maybe you do that 2 or 3 times a day. And the ideal is, as those things get easier, is each day you try to do a little bit more. So if you took 2 or 3 walks down to the end of the driveway and back, maybe the next day, maybe you do 4 or 5 walks. And when that becomes easy, maybe you walk down to one of your neighbor's house and back. And then the next day, maybe it's 2 houses. So you incrementally, slowly increase your distance. You'll get there faster if you do it that way instead of trying to do a lot at one time and then overdo it. Now, if you're really active and you're out in the community, a lot of beautiful parks out in St. Petersburg, a lot of different places to do your walking. But I also want you to think about, instead of thinking about actual exercise and walking, when you run errands and go to the grocery store, or go to your doctor's office, or maybe go to the restaurant, count those feet going in and out of those restaurants and in and out of those appointments and count those towards your goal. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all about the exercise throughout the day, but it also counts towards your activities of daily living, can count towards your goal. And I want to remind you guys, one of the best things we can do is get a buddy to exercise. Now, obviously we might not be able to exercise together, but you guys can keep in touch through phones or through a computer and have somebody else who maybe you can team up with and talk about what you each did every day, because that always helps us and gives us inspiration, and nice to know that somebody else is going to go through it with us. So I think if there's any way you can get a buddy, whether it's a family member or a friend, whatever works, that always makes things a little bit easier when somebody else helps us with it. All right, next I want to do is talk to you about how you warm up properly to begin walking, and then how you cool down properly after you're finished walking or exercising. Okay, let's talk about what we need to do to warm up properly before we walk or before we exercise. I often get asked, do I stretch before I exercise or do I stretch after I exercise? And ideally, the stretches that you hold for 30 seconds, those stretches work better after exercise because your muscles are warmed up and they're a lot more pliable and they'll stretch better. So you don't want to do those static stretches that you hold before you exercise. So what we're going to do before you exercise is kind of mimic the motions you would do whatever exercise you're doing, even if it's walking, and get the body warmed up and prepared to start going. So as far as if you are a walker and do long distance walking outside, then a good way to warm up, and your warm up normally should take somewhere between 2 to 5 minutes. Like I said, you want to get that blood flowing, get the muscles going, so less chance for injury and soreness. So ideally, if you were to walk a long distance, maybe you just walk slowly as a warm up in the beginning. And what you can do is if you're just going to walk a little bit, a good way to start, one would be just to stand and just do some marching. Just do a little bit of marching, get those hips, get the knees, get that blood pumping, and just alternate marching maybe 10, 20 times. So after you do that, a little bit of marching, what you're going to do is, I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me, is you want to warm up also the back of your legs, the hamstrings. So we're going to bring the heels up towards the butt. So another one is this one, and bringing them up, and that's a good way to warm up the back of your legs, which is a little bit different than the marching. That's more the top of your legs and your hips. So a little bit like this. Get the hamstrings warmed up. And then what else you can do since you walk, whether you're an arm swinger, a big one, or whether you keep your arms in here, is just kind of stand and warm those shoulders up a little bit and swing those arms back and forth. You can do some straight. You can do some with the arms bent, get a little trunk rotation in there. And then the other thing you can do is put your hands on your hips and just nice and easy, just kind of turn the trunk a little bit, because you will get some trunk rotation in while you're walking. And just do some movements like this. And then the last one you can do standing is you're going to go up on your toes and back on your heels. That's really going to warm up the back of your legs, your calves, and also the front of your legs, but especially your calves. So you're going to do probably anywhere from 10 to 20 of those to get the lower leg warmed up a little bit. Now, if you're not standing and we're talking about being in a wheelchair, you can do the same thing, or any chair to warm up if you don't feel safe doing them standing. And you can do the marches, and you can also do the kicks, all right? And you can also do the heel toes as well to warm up before you do any exercise. So that's a great way to start to get you going for walking. Now, what happens after you're finished walking? That's when the stretches come in. Okay, so as far as stretching, when you get done with the exercises, is like I said, it's going to be a static stretch, and it takes a muscle at least 20 seconds to relax. So when you see people stretching who do about 100 miles an hour, a couple of these, a couple of these, a couple of those, don't look at them, don't pay attention to them, okay? Ideally, you want to have good form, and you want to hold that stretch for at least 20 seconds. 30 seconds to 60 is ideal. And what you'll notice is the longer you hold that stretch, you will actually feel the muscle release if you're patient enough to wait for it to happen. So the first stretch would be what we do, we're going to stretch the quadricep. So you can hold on to something, and what you're going to do if you can is grab the back of your foot. You don't want the leg way up here. You want to try to keep your thighs even, keep your posture, and you're going to pull that leg up, and you're going to feel that stretch in the front of your thigh. So what you're going to do is you're going to just try to hold that for 20 to 30 seconds. And you're going to do that on each side, and usually a couple on each side is a good place to start. The other stretch we can do is what they call a calf stretch, and a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this. You can do that up against a wall or a tree. I'm going to use a chair here for an example, but you're going to get one foot behind and one foot in front. And what you're going to do is you're going to bend the knee of that front leg. You're going to keep that back leg straight. Now, what I don't want you to do when I tell people to lean forward to feel that stretch back here, a lot of people do this, okay? Don't do that. So what I want you to do is stay tall, get the leg back there. You're going to move your hips forward. So you're going to move your hips forward, and then you're going to feel that stretch back here. And the ideal is as soon as you start to feel it stretch, that's far enough. If you feel a stinging or a burning, you have stretched it way too far, and that's not good because you can overstretch and hurt yourself. So as soon as you start to feel that pull just a little bit, that's what you want to hold, okay? So you just keep the leg straight, you're going to lean forward, and then you're going to hold that 20 to 30 seconds. 30 seconds is better. Now what you can also do, this stretches the upper calf. So after you get done with that stretch, if you bend that knee, you'll feel that stretch down lower, down into your Achilles, and a little bit in your soleus muscle. So a lot of people go, ooh, because they never even knew they had that muscle. So after you get done with the 30 seconds, go ahead and bend that knee a little bit, and then hold it for another 30 seconds, okay? And you're going to do 2 of those on each side. All right, another stretch you do is for the hamstring. Let me show you a couple of those 2 sitting before we do the standing one. Sitting, in order to stretch that calf like I just showed you, and you can't do it the way I showed you, you can do it in a chair. If you straighten the leg out and pull your toes back towards you, you're probably going to feel that back here in the calf for sure. If you can't pull them back very far, you can get a belt or a towel, put it around your foot, to help you pull it back to feel that stretch. So that's another way that you can stretch the calves sitting in a chair or a wheelchair, okay? All right, in order to stretch the hamstring in a sitting position, you're gonna notice when you have that leg out straight that you might feel that a little bit even up high here in the hamstring if you're really tight. If you're not, what you could do is put your hand on your knee and just kind of work your way down towards your ankle. If it's too hard for you to hold your foot up, you can certainly have another chair here to prop your foot up on. But I don't want you leaning forward without your hand on your knee. That forward flexion sometimes can be a problem for the back. So if you keep your hand on your leg and just kind of slide down, that'll alleviate a lot of the pressure in your low back so that you feel the stretch properly for your hamstring, okay? And you just want to go forward, same thing, till you kind of feel it a little bit. I don't want you leaning this way to do it. I want you coming from the hips and leaning forward. It won't be long before you feel that right underneath here. Same thing, you're going to hold it 20 to 30 seconds, and you're going to do 2 of those on each side, okay? And those stretches are something you can do every day. The more you stretch, the more mobility you have, and the more mobility you have, the better off you're going to be trying to accomplish your goals as far as walking and finishing in that run on October 4th through the 10th.